Hello and welcome back to another Tonto video. In today's one we're going over the Timothy the UK magazines from Panini, issue number 13. Now this issue was called Thief in the Night, and this issue was one which I was quite surprised at just because this one was going into the lore and the history within this universe, such as them going on to talk about warriors, the Uni and that kind of stuff. And it created for some really interesting story stuff which I wasn't really expecting, and I was quite surprised to actually see it in this issue. And I'd say that this is also like one of these stories, just like with the last one, that I thought could work really well within the actual TV show itself. But unfortunately they didn't do anything like this, which is honestly quite surprising. So yeah. Okay, yeah, so for this story, we do get Silver Toes. They're up on the museum and looking down, looking at this sword. And Leo goes on to explain the lore and the history behind this sword. And it turns out that there's actually quite a bit of interesting stuff behind this one. And so yeah, so it turns out that with this sword, basically these two people, one was an Uni and one was a samurai, and they was fighting each day, constantly doing that for a few years. However, none of them were winning, and at this point in their battle, basically none of them were, they weren't man enough to say you know what, this is not going nowhere, I give up or anything. They wanted to do it until either one of them died. However, the samurai comes up with a great idea to go off and try and find the Numeraki sword, because it has this great legend that if you're worthy, you can open the sword up and you can use it. And they find it and they do it. However, with the Uni, he fails at this, and it turns out that the samurai was able to open this. And we do get a little bit more of the context behind all this as to how he was able to do it a little bit later. But yeah, so either way, we do get to see Fish Face. He's in the museum and he's breaking in with the Foot Clan and we're trying to grab the sword. Now we do have two teams in this one. So we've got Mikey, Donnie and Raph. They're going off into one room and they're fighting off all the foot. And there isn't really too much to it for this page, or these couple of pages really. Other than we get to see Mikey just gets fed up with one foot ninjas and just rams him into a big gong, and just it upsets everyone with their hearing and that kind of stuff, and just puts them off balance, so everyone's able to defeat them. So yeah, I mean, I'd say that overall for this bit, I feel like this bit would have been a lot more cooler had they had a bit more foot soldiers or a little bit more action. I do definitely feel like the action for this scene in particular was very lacking, and do definitely feel like it could have been improved quite a bit with how it was done. I felt like it was just very slow and just wasn't really as fast paced as other scenes and that kind of stuff. It was just a really disappointing one because it felt like it should be something which I'd be like, oh my god, we're going to see Mikey fight the foot, we're going to see Raph fight the foot, but yeah, it just felt so boring and bland. But then we do have another fight where we do get to see Fish Face, he's fighting Leo, and this one which was something which I was quite surprised at, because I don't think we've really got to see a proper fight with Leo versus Fish Face. I think the main one which I remember from the show was the one where Fish Face got his legs and is fighting everyone in Poison Wrath. That's the main one which I remember where he probably got to fight the turtles, but not necessarily the turtles, but especially Leo. There's the only one which I remember in particular that he actually got to fight. And then also I think that also the other one was with the showdown where Leo just beat up Raza, Tiger Claw and Fish Face all at once. So the battles between these two are very limited, but it was quite nice to see this happen again, and it was interesting for the most part because we do get to see Fish Face. He uses his sword. However, when he tries to open it up to because basically he's stealing all this stuff so that he can give it to Shredder, and when he goes over to the sword to try and open it up to try and use it against Leo, he isn't able to undo it. And Leo tells him about the story, saying that basically you gotta be worthy. You're not a real hero. It's all magic, and Fish Face is what? No, magic ain't real. So Leo gets hold of the sword and he opens it up, and he even uses it on Fish Face, and actually cuts off the water tank that was giving Fish Face the water to breathe and that kind of stuff, which was a really nice thing to see, because a very nice villainous arc which I was not expecting from Leo, but we need more of this. But yeah, so other than that, we do get to see Leo. He tells the other turtles how he's able to do it, just because we get to see Mikey. He goes on to say, you know, Leo's worthy, oh, how mighty Leo, and that kind of stuff. And Leo just reveals, but basically, you know, there isn't really too much to the sword about the worthiness or the magic behind all of it. It's basically a bunch of like bullshit and all that kind of stuff, because the reason for it all is because the sword was on a latch, and if you undo the latch, you have to get the sword out. However, Fishface and the Uni weren't able to do this and didn't even know about the latch, so they weren't able to get it out, so now everyone thinks that it's a magic sword. So yeah, I mean, I'd say that like overall this story, it's something which I would somewhat expect from the show, where we get to see stuff like this. And I'd say that I do definitely feel like this is definitely one of the benefits with the show, where you have to do a lot of stuff which you would expect to see from the show. And I definitely feel like the IW comics definitely didn't really do a good job at this, but these comics are really doing a good job at it, because especially like last issue and this one in particular are like stories which you would expect to see from the show. And I feel like this one worked well enough for the comic format, just because I don't really know what else they could have done to expand the story into like a full 20-minute episode. But I do definitely feel like without done it in this one, where it's just like a 12-page story, it worked well enough for the pacing and that kind of stuff. And I do definitely feel like with the story, the lore, and also the fight between Leo and Fishface was like really cool and, you know, really great and fascinating to see. However, the stuff with like Mikey, Wrath and Dawn were very boring and bland, so it's just a weird issue. I feel like had this one had those extra few pages to make it into like a full 20-page story, I do definitely feel like this one would have definitely benefited a lot from this one, just because, you know, you definitely could have expanded upon the stuff with the lore and history, and definitely give a lot more attention to the Mikey fights. I don't know, it's just one of these things that, had they just improved some like little bits here and there, this story could have been one of these great ones that, you know, it would have worked so well for the show, but yet they didn't. So it's just a weird one. And then also like another thing which I also somewhat thinking about, because I have not gone back to bother to look at this in the show whatsoever, but I'm pretty sure the sword which they're talking about in this issue is the one which I was talking about in the, what's the episode called? I think it's called like the New Girl in Town, the one where like Leo and Korra are going to steal from a building, but yet we don't get to see anything come with that sword. So I've got a feeling that it might be from that sword, but I've got a feeling most likely isn't. But at the same time, it would be a very cool callback and that kind of stuff. It would be very good, but I doubt it, just because, yeah, I mean, if I actually remember correctly, I'm pretty sure in the actual episode, Korra even steals the sword, so someone make this story a bit non-canon, but, oh well, we'll do what we want to make it canon, so yeah. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this issue. Do you like it? Do you not? And yeah, that's game for today, guys. Please share, screw up, and all that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.